Welcome to another episode of Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. Today is open format. We're going to talk about what's hot in the political realm this week. We're going to talk about the impeachment circus. We're going to talk about, hey, we got a new mayor in Aurora, Colorado. How exciting. And Aurora has elected its first socialist uh, candidate to city council. And sadly, the Aurora City Council has flipped. Now the Democrats control the city council. And also, I want to welcome Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome back.
Hey,
Always
Art.
great to have you. Uh, So that's what's going on. So let's talk about impeachment, shall we?
Yeah, let's. Is that a circus or what? I mean,
It,
they've done so much behind the scenes that behind closed doors, we don't even know where they're going with it now. And everything I've seen, they just keep stumbling over their own tongue.
yep. Now they've changed the. It's not all about not collusion, but now it's about bribery. So they
Yeah,
they changed the subject. Now it's bribery.
quid. They've gone to the quid pro quo.
Yeah, went
Yeah,
from
pro.
quid pro quo to
Yeah.
bribery. How?
Oh, they've gone to bribery now.
Yeah,
What bribes did he take?
I have no idea. It just seems like
Why?
every week it changes from one thing to another. They because everything they've thrown out there has fallen flat on their face. Uh,
I hadn't heard the bribery one. I guess
yeah,
I
that's the new thing that's
the new thing.
going on right now.
How do you bribe one of the richest men in America? I mean,
Yeah, that's
really, it's
right.
like he doesn't even need this job. He took this
Unless
job
he
to help the country, you know?
unless he's bribing people, you
Oh, maybe
know.
he's bribing people. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yep. So
I they're still saying it's involved with Ukraine though, right? I
yeah.
mean, or they
Mhm.
found somebody. So now he's bribing people in Ukraine. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that with if you look up dirt for me, I'll give you weapons? Is that the bribery? Is that the way they're
Yeah,
playing it now?
yeah, that sounds about like what's going on. It's just amazing.
The crap that they've pulled on this president
Hmm.
is, in my opinion, is traitorous. I
Hmm.
mean, as far as
Yep.
I'm concerned, Schiff should be arrested for treason. And I think it's time for the people of this country to step up to the plate and start saying, this has got to quit, you know?
Yep. I
But
think
we've got,
that's what's going to happen next year at
well,
the
I hope
election.
so.
I think I have a feeling this is going to backfire, and the Democrats will lose their majority in the House.
Well, they need to. As a matter of fact, I, I've noticed a trend that there's a lot of the Republicans that aren't running
Mm.
because I think they're part of the swamp and they
Yeah.
see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And so they're just stepping aside to let it go wherever it goes. I
Hmm.
just hope the Republicans or the conservatives, I don't mean just the Republicans, I mean conservatives in general, step up to the plate and finally say, we've had enough. We want our country back. We want it to, we're tired of social, we don't want socialism. And that's what it needs to be. Otherwise, we're going to be like the UK. We're going to be like Canada. We're
Yep.
going to be like Germany. Uh, and sorry, but we left all that behind when we declared ourselves a nation.
Hmm. That's right. That's right.
And
And where was I going? Oh, anyway, uh, just lost a train of thought there. I was just thinking about what's going on next. But yeah, you're so right. And I think, like our guest last week, I think she's running against Upton,
yeah.
and Upton is kind of on the fence whether he wants to seek re-election or not, because a lot of Republicans have decided to retire this time around. Because, and you're right, I think part of it is about draining the swamp, but the other part is Nobody likes to be in the minority.
Yeah,
So it was all fun and games when they were the majority, but now that the tables are turned and they're not going to be on the committees that they wanted to be on, so they're saying, well, I don't like this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
and that's why Paul Ryan didn't run again. But he was in a competitive district anyway, and
right, right.
probably felt that he wouldn't win, so that's why he decided not to
Yeah.
run again.
Well,
But uh,
I think part of the problem is, well, we should have never lost in 2018. That was apathy on it. Well, here's the thing. We had the majority from 2016 to 2018. What got done? What did the Republicans do? They had the majority. What did they actually do?
uh-huh,
They never, the first thing they were supposed to do was close down Obamacare.
hmm,
They didn't do anything. They didn't. First off, they've been saying we got to get rid of Obamacare for what, the last 12 years,
yes,
last 10 years, anyways.
yep,
Uh, but they never had a working plan to get rid of it.
hmm,
So the president comes up with an idea, sends it to them, and they're saying, "Well, you know, we don't know if we want to do that or not."
yeah,
So you lost, and
hmm,
unfortunately, the Democrats won. You know,
hmm. And plus, you had the whole collusion
yeah,
investigation going. That was the big cloud over a lot of Republicans, and then you had some Republicans
yeah,
running away from Trump
no
and
Trumpers.
and
Yeah,
going out. Their campaign was all about I stood up to Donald Trump. Guess what? Those candidates lost.
they're
I mean,
unemployed
that's
now.
what
Yeah,
happened to Mike Kaufman.
yeah,
He uh, he said, "I'm standing up to Donald Trump." Well,
yeah.
you know what? Uh, he lost, but good thing is he's the new mayor of Aurora, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, wonderful.
Mhm.
That sounds like a winner.
Well, it's better than the alternative that
Is it?
Omar
Okay.
Montgomery, from what I hear, is pretty far to the left. And then with the city council now being run by Democrats, I mean, you could see, well, in Denver, they're bringing back safe injection sites again. And
Wasn't
I
that like a
think
miserable failure
eventually
the
that's
first
going to
time?
happen in Denver. Denver is falling apart. Uh, there was a guy that owns a business in Five Points. He just got fined because he wouldn't clean up the feces in front of his business. Well, isn't that the job of what the city's supposed to do?
Uh,
You know,
y yeah,
the
I mean,
sidewalks and the streets?
weren't they yeah. Was it human or was it dog or what was it?
No, it was human because now in Denver, it's okay to take a dump on the sidewalk.
When did we become a third world country? When did Denver become a third world state?
Yeah,
I mean, or a third world city? I mean, you expect to see that type of stuff maybe in Bangladesh somewhere or in, parts of India, in some of the
yeah,
poorer villages and stuff. You don't expect to see that in Denver, Colorado. I
yeah,
mean, they at one time they were the gold capital of the world,
yeah.
and there was, I mean, we had, God, it just, brr.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm to the point where, I'm getting close to retirement, and I'm like, going, I'm getting the flip out of here.
Yeah,
You know,
first off, I don't understand what has happened to the intelligence of the people of the United States. I was talking about this with somebody last night. Well, I think you and I talking about it? Uh,
probably.
yeah, we were talking about, we don't invent anything anymore.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, we as a country, everything's imported.
Yep.
Even the stuff that's manufactured here has imported parts. We haven't come up with a. I know who it was. I was talking to Grant Smith. Grant, Mr. Stay Drunk,
Right.
and he's, in my opinion, our greatest technological way of thinking and leaps were from 1850 to 1950. Maybe
Yep.
1960. Since then, everything has been just you know baby steps off of what we'd already built,
Yeah.
but there's been nothing really new. I mean, in the 1950s, we had computers. Most people don't realize that, but we had them. You know,
Hmm.
and in the 60s, we had an aircraft that had an armament control unit, which was a computer system. You know,
Hmm.
and but we haven't done anything. We started developing. Well, the rockets were developed at the end of World War II, and our rocket ship program is just a natural progression of what was already started. You know,
Hmm.
and we still haven't gone any further ahead with it. Everybody says, "Oh, we got computers now, and everything's great. We got cell phones the size of computers." All we've done is taken and stepped on, and now we're going backwards. We got people crapping in the streets of Denver.
Yep. Hmm. Well, part of that is because Colorado is booming,
Right.
and we got a lot of businesses coming here, but not enough people. So people are moving here, and guess where they're coming from? They're coming from states where their economies are crap. And
Right.
who runs those states? Democrats.
Democrats. Yeah,
So we
exactly.
got people from California, Illinois, New York, and Wisconsin, and because they can't find jobs in their home states, because their their state government, has pretty much made it impossible for businesses to flourish there. So they move out of state. And
Yeah.
now they're coming to Colorado because our labor is fairly cheap. Uh, it's a great environment. Who wouldn't want to live here? It is a beautiful state. The climate is perfect. And then on top of that, you have the Gang of Four, which are four very wealthy Democrat progressives that have moved here from out of state. You got Pat Stryker, moved
Right.
from Michigan, the heir to the Stryker medical fortune. And Drone Life RC, welcome, welcome. And Wright Bridges, Tim Gill, Jared Polis. Jared Polis isn't from Colorado. He inherited an e-greeting company from his parents, and he was smart enough to sell it just before the dot-com bubble burst, and then he took that money, and he could see the writing on the wall that Obamacare was on horizon, so he got into the medical insurance business,
Yeah.
and when he went into Congress, he only had like something like 25-30 million dollars. Now he's worth over $300 million.
Now, how do you
And
make that kind of money in Congress? You
uh,
know?
well, he's got there's supposedly their investments are in trusts, and they're not. But you know darn well they're getting insider
Trading tips.
information
Yeah. Yeah.
on who's going to get a contract for what, and then they go, "Hey Bob, could you put buy 20 shares or 20,000 shares of X, Y, and Z?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that stock just goes to the moon.
Yeah, I forgot to say, I wrote in the chat, but hello, Drone Life RC. I was listening to Art, and I was trying to type and say, I've redone my set a little bit and put my camera at a different spot because I'm having the hardest time remembering to look at the camera. So I'm trying to
Right.
get everything lined out and get it lined up with my green screen and get everything
Mhm.
where it needs to be. And it's been one of those things that's just
Right.
Uh,
Are you being paid?
well, that's why I was checking.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Let's go to you.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Oh, good. That's good that you're good.
I just heard a sound that I thought it sounded almost like her from the bedroom, but it wasn't.
Right?
The camera that I'm using is the Logitech Brio, the 4K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Drone Life was asking what one I was using, and I've
Hmm.
got it mounted on a tripod, a camera tripod, because
Right.
you can. It's a pain to figure out, but the this is the normal mount for it.
Right.
Camera camera sits on this little n- thing
Yeah.
right here,
Right.
and it you have to just pop it out, but then that's threaded. And of course, I've got I don't know a dozen or so tripods around here that I've used for one thing or another, and
Yeah.
so I had one, and so I've repositioned it where it's right in my monitors are here, or they're like right
Right.
here in front of me, and the camera's up about here. So I'm trying to get it where I can, when I look at the chat, and I could probably raise the camera up, but I'm scared that it'll get inside the field of view for
Right.
the camera. So, you know, uh, and then I've got my two lights on either side of me, and then I have a reflective umbrella and a light, you
Right.
know, that shoots to that, and then it reflects the color back, and that's how I've got my color set up. And
Awesome.
oh, you have? He says he has the same setup. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
But
So basically, I have that camera that you got me, uh,
yeah, yeah,
and it is just above the lower part of my monitor. It's on one of those like a knockoff of the Gorilla
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
thingy
yeah. I've got a couple of
tripod,
those around. Yeah,
and when I did my live stream earlier, I've got my regular tripod, and I used this camera, and I just took the doodad off the bottom, and it screws right onto the tripod,
right.
and I used this microphone here, and everything worked out great. I've got it all set up to where it just bing bang boom, it's all set. Uh, Go online, go to StreamYard, and then there. So, and that's how we do the show, folks. So let's get
Yeah,
back to politics.
yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah. Well, I wanted to answer him because
Yeah,
he's been he was following you earlier today too.
yeah, that's
Or
right. That's
yeah,
hmm
yeah. That was we were just I was sitting there going, "Oh no, I could see it happening." You start that, and all of a sudden it takes off because you hit the wrong button. You're going,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it seems to be fairly durable.
yeah. It is, and the controls are very similar to the Tello uh, app, to where it's got the two buttons on each side
Right?
of the thing, and one moves it back and forth and side to side, and the other one you could turn it. And it took me a while to figure out how to do that, and
Yeah,
it shoots that laser, which is kind of cool. And the camera, I'm really impressed with the camera on there. And I found an SD card that I'm gonna pop in there a little later today and give it a spin and
right.
try that out. So, love my drones. Welcome to the show. This is my political channel where I talk about uh, conservative topics, and
This is
hopefully
this is the
you'll enjoy
channel.
this. Please subscribe and hit that bell.
Yeah, this is the channel we get to come on and say what we want to that we
Right.
don't say in our other channels
Yeah.
because, I mean, this is this is where we enjoy our conservative politics,
Right.
And
Hmm.
I've never uh, shied away from a proud deplorable. Excellent, yeah, deplorables here
Yep.
too. Excellent,
Hi.
yeah,
got my shirt on. My
Yeah, yeah. Uh, okay, they're both good. I like it because, yeah,
right.
I've never shied away from being a conservative.
Mhm.
And uh, I'm proud to say that both my boys are conservatives,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
I got a grandson. He's autistic. He's 12 years old. He thinks Trump is the greatest guy in the world, and he hates it that they're attacking him.
Yeah,
You know, and he looks at life differently than we do. And for him to say that, I'm going, and and he's he's got the kind of autism that he's high function. He's what
right.
they call spectrum autism, and it's high function. Where his mind comes up with some of his ideas, I don't understand.
Yeah,
But he and all of his family is uh, on his mother's side. They're all Native Americans, and they tend to be a little more left leaning.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But pardon me. But he is a supporter of Trump, and I think it just aggravates his aunts to death. But I think it's great.
that's
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 one of my grandkids I'm really proud of. I'm proud of all of them, but I'm proud of most of them. There's a few of them I just
well, that's wonderful. Uh, so yeah, this election that we just had for the municipal elections here in Westminster, we just elected two more conservatives to the city council, which is cool. Democrats still control the Westminster City Council. Don't know much about what happened in Arvada or Lakewood, but here's what was weird about Aurora. The other day, I was listening to one of the city council people, Francois Bergen. She was on one of the local radio shows, and they asked her, "Do we know who the mayor is?" And this is like over a week after the election. She said, "We still don't know who the mayor is. Kaufman is ahead by almost 200 votes." And that's how close it was.
wow.
And she was talking about watching the results, and by 8 o'clock, the results came in. It looked like the incumbents were all going to win, and then the next day, turns out they lost because
Wow.
normally when you're up that much by 8 o'clock or 8:30, the trend usually continues. But that's not what happened, and plus the uh, the clerk and recorder of Arapahoe County just did a terrible job running the election. So they just had a executive committee meeting for the GOP in Arapahoe County, and they put forward by unanimous vote or consensus that
Right.
this clerk and recorder should resign.
Well, yeah, if they can't do their job, they need to get rid of them.
Yep.
It's just that
Mhm.
simple. You know, and in today's electronic era, there should not be, granted, uh, I woke up too early again today. I was up to see your show, so now, but they shouldn't be. There shouldn't be that kind of a lag behind. I mean, it
Right.
shouldn't be. Yeah. If it's close, they're going to have to hand count.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Oklahoma is we have a ballot that it's about this big by about that big. It's about you
Yep.
know maybe bigger than 8 by 10, more like
Yeah.
11 by 14.
Right.
And what you do is you take in there, they have an arrow in there, or they have
Yep.
a check box. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the
Same
last,
here in Colorado.
and you draw through that. and then you put it through and it reads it. Now, if it automatically tells uh, if the ballot's not correct, because it will kick it back out and they'll come over and look at it and they say, "Oh, you didn't finish, you got a partial line here or there's something there," and
Ah,
they allow them to look at it, and
right.
and but 9 times out of 10 it takes it. And so if there's a close election, what they do is that's when they do the paper count.
Right.
But they're big enough that even the old folks running the election board can see it.
Mm,
And that's, I don't know if that's good or bad, but we tend to have all of the people that run our elections, of course they're volunteers, but
right.
they're all, well, there's one person that works for ours down here where our
Yeah.
precinct is at. That woman was old when we moved here 38 years ago, and she's still doing it. And she's got to be as old as Methuselah's grandmother, you know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And I see a problem with having people that old running our election boards and stuff.
Right.
I think we need to have, uh, you know, there needs to be an age limit of say 62. But of course, then the Democrats will come out and say, "But that's age
That's
discrimination."
ageist. You are
Yeah, I'm an ageist.
discriminating.
Yeah, you know.
Hey,
Hey, I'm an old fart. I
we
can
got
be.
somebody from Greece watching. That is
Ah,
awesome.
excellent, excellent. So very cool. Well,
Mhm.
uh, to the person from Greece, welcome, and uh, just understand that we're talking about politics, and we're talking about conservative politics.
Right.
Now, what conservative means in Greece might mean it might be different than what it means,
That's true.
you know. Uh,
Mhm. That's true.
yeah.
I believe this is DJ. We probably know him from Facebook.
Ah, yeah. It's just
Yeah, he
Alex
always calls me
Alex Mark.
Arnie.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. You,
Uh,
you know a different bunch of people than I do.
mhm. Now, what's different here in Colorado, we have what's called ballot harvesting, which is you're not supposed to pick up more than 10 ballots, but the Democrats, they don't follow that rule. That what they do is they go around the neighborhood and they pick up ballots and they go to the neighborhood that they know will give them the most votes, like the poor neighborhoods or the neighborhoods that are very left leaning, and they know which doors to go to, because sometimes people are they don't drop off their ballots. They'll fill it out and they'll forget to mail it in or stick it in the ballot box, which is at the DMV or uh, City Hall around the states where you could drop off your ballots. And so,
When you say ballots, you talking about the people that you mean they go pick up the physical ballots, the
yeah,
paper ballots?
yep. The
Okay.
Republicans, they don't do that. I don't know why they don't do that.
I thought you
Hello,
meant they
Dave.
went and picked up
Welcome to the
people that
show.
vote for them.
Yeah. So, RC Crazy, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, man, you can. This is a good crowd today.
Yeah,
I think your build warmed everybody up. Uh,
yeah, yeah. And I kind of mentioned it a little bit during the build and say,
yeah,
don't forget my other show. And
right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, cool. I'm sitting
so,
at my
yeah.
toaster.
So
I'm
now
hungry.
Republicans are they're trying to limit the amount of ballots that Democrats get, but what'll end up happening is they'll just get several Democrats, ballot harvesters, and they'll just split it amongst themselves, and it'll still come out the same.
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding the concept. You talking about people that do write-ins?
Yeah, because
Or I mean, not write-ins, but
we got
early.
mail-in ballots here in Colorado. And
Oh,
what the Democrats do is what's called ballot harvesting. Is they go door to door and they talk to people and they say, "Have you filled out your ballots? Oh, you haven't. Well, hey, I'll take your ballot for you." And if it's all filled, or if it's only partially filled, well, let me help you out with that. And they might influence people on who to vote for and what ballot
now
choose to vote on.
this isn't for every person that votes, right? This is only for like the early mail-ins or something like that.
No, every
You
election
don't go
here in
to a precinct.
Colorado is mail in now.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
God, no wonder
Although
your state's.
they do have some places where people could go and fill out a ballot and do it that day. Here's the kicker: all you need is a to show that you are legal to vote is to bring a utility bill. You could do same day registration.
Oh my God, we have to register by a certain time. We have, I think it's if in order to if we're not registered or we haven't voted in the last two elections. Uh, yeah, what if the mail is late? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
Hmm.
I was discussing with somebody the other day about the first time I voted. You know, you they talk about the hanging Chad. Anybody that was around during the
Yeah.
2000 election remembers that. But when I first voted in Colorado, we had actual voting booths. Okay,
Yeah.
and they
I
set them up, and you you
You pull
you
the
you
lever.
pulled, yeah, well, you pulled the lever down, and that closed the curtains.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
then
then,
you
yeah,
go
it's
through and
usually
you.
right here, and you just go click. Or there might be a thing they'll do the whole
Right.
party for you.
Right, you could flip the lever for and it would do the tabs all the way down,
Yeah,
and your vote was cast when you pulled the arm back up and the
yeah,
curtain opened up, it sent it all through.
yep,
Now, that was, where the one-armed bandit type thing, but that was casting a ballot then because
yeah,
but and then, of course, they've gone to more electronic stuff, but
mm,
what you did is when there was punch cards in the back,
uh-huh,
IBM type cards that went in the
right,
back, and it would just load the next one in. It reset everything after, you did your thing. When you
right.
opened it up, it punched the cards, dropped it in, put a new card in behind it, and the next person came up,
Mhm,
and then they just load all those IBM cards in the computer, and it would
right,
count them.
mm,
And but mailing them in and letting some idiot or letting somebody come pick them up, yeah,
yeah,
no, I don't think so. Uh,
mhm,
I want it in my hand, and I want it to go into a machine, and I see it go into that machine, and I see there's locks on that machine that can only be opened by the people in the staff. You know,
yeah.
I
Well,
want
that
some.
we here in Colorado, we have what are called ballot drop-off boxes. So if you don't feel comfortable about mailing your ballot, and here's what I do is I fill it out, and instead of mailing it, I take it to the nearest DMV that has a ballot drop-off box, and those have surveillance cameras on them, so
Right,
nobody could break in, steal ballots. You just stick it in there, and there's no way you could reach in there and grab a ballot and pull it back out, and
right.
you just stick it in. And that's it. And then on election day, they empty those out, and then that's when they start sorting it. Hmm.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard. That is so. I mean, it'd be so easy to manipulate that, which obviously as you said, they got people harvesting it. That's just.
Yeah,
Oh my God! No wonder you got people crapping the streets of Denver if you run an
yeah.
election like that.
So what Democrats do is they have people going out through the neighborhoods and they knock on doors. Oh, did you get your ballot? Oh, good. Have you filled it out yet? you haven't, well, I can help you out with that. And what they do is they go through and they talk about this candidate, that candidate, or this proposition, or this mill levy, and what ends up happening is they're able to manipulate the uh, the people into voting for their favorite candidate.
Yeah, and see that is so. I mean, to me, that's
Un-American.
yeah. That I mean, it is. That's. I remember one year when I was down in Mexico, and I was there during election time, and the guy that was running against the president was getting a lot of the students supporting him, and I went through Hermosa, which is down in uh, was it in Sinaloa? I think it was down in Sinaloa,
Hmm.
and uh, they had a college down there, and a
Hmm.
lot of those students were supporting the guy coming that they were, the opposing person, the incumbent. They
Right.
weren't supporting the incumbent; they were supporting the opposition, and well, their idea of supporting him was kind of riding in the streets and trying to
Yeah.
get people. So during the election, they had troop trucks driving around, making sure that there wasn't going to be any outside influence. In other words, you saw the troops, you knew it was for the president. That's who you were going to vote for.
Yep.
This sounds the same way. You got it's like just their presence there was enough to, and that was in the 70s. It was a third world country then, and now we've become that. It's just, God,
Uh-huh.
I,
Yep.
that's unconstitutional. I mean, it's got to be. You can't have just, you know, it's supposed to be controlled by the precinct people. But,
Yep.
sometimes I say this is what happens when we let states run their own election. We should have and that's the other thing I think we should have. We should have a standardized election system
Yep.
across the country. Every state, every precinct, every person should have the same thing. You
Yep.
know, and and I don't mean that somebody who owns stocks in uh, a voting booth company should be, just. I think we should have several people building them. That way we've got, not one person is in charge of it. We got, where one company's getting all the benefits off it. I think we
Yep.
should have, you know, several different companies manufacturing the machines. That way, there's no duplicity between them because
Yep.
they're competing to see who gets the most machines out. They get paid per machine,
Yep.
a reasonable rate.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm going to change things when I become president. That's for
There
sure.
you go. There you go.
Now there's Mike Roach.
Yep. Oh, Mike
Well,
Roach is here. All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Welcome, welcome, Mike. Uh, get a dose of conservatism today. Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. We do tend to, and sometimes I do get a little off subject, which I've done again today.
Yeah.
I, I think you're probably right, Mitch. He says the voting age should be 35. I think it should be too.
Yeah,
I honestly
I
think,
think so too.
you know,
Mhm.
here's the difference. When I voted at the age of 18, when I voted in my first presidential election, uh,
Was that
we, huh? Yeah, that was
Taft?
back. No, it was after Taft. Let's see. Well, yeah, it was Taft in his second term, and I voted for Teddy. You know,
Oh, okay.
because the Bull Moose Party. I thought the moose was cool. What can I say? Anyways,
He was hanging around with that squirrel.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was, and but when I was 18, I was also married. I was also in the military. I
Right.
was serving my country, and we were a different generation. I came right out of the World War II generation.
Yeah.
So uh, uh, my father and all my uncle, but today's teenagers, I got a grandson that is 19. I'm proud of him,
Mm.
but uh, it's the responsibility isn't there. I mean,
Yeah.
He's still living at home, and of course his dad did. But once his dad made up his mind after he went to work and but he worked hard at his job. It was a manual labor job, and he'd graduated high school, but he didn't know and finally he decided he liked welding. He had done that in high school and done very well at it, and the teachers had all pushed for him to go to welding school. So he did. And
Mm-hmm.
he's been working with the same company now for 25 years.
Yeah,
You know, that's,
that's a hot business.
yeah, yeah, it is. But who works for the same company for 25 years nowadays? This is a kid who's, my son is 45.
No,
So, so over half his life he's worked for this one company, and he's like he said, he says, I don't want my son working there. It says the company is, you know it is what it is. But they've been pushing their son, who's 19 now, and hopefully he's going to get on one of the hospitals as a uh, pharmacy tech. So
oh, great,
he
cool,
did an interview and it looked like it went well, so we're hoping for the best. But you
awesome.
know but it's not the same generation that I was or even my son was. It's we at 18. So yeah, I wouldn't want my grandson really voting until he's
Right,
35, because I don't
right.
think he's going to be mature enough until then.
Well, you and I we're baby boomers.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
born towards the end of the baby boomer, and my sister was born, towards the beginning of the baby boomer age. I think
Right,
it really started in 47 is when the baby boomer generation began, and then it ended like 64, 65.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
like Ken Heron, he's post baby boom.
yeah, yeah.
He's 66. So
Right.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my sister was she was sort of a baby boomer, but she was before 47. Uh,
Oh,
she was a leave baby.
oh, okay.
Dad, dad came home on leave. You know, then he came home on leave and then went back over,
Right.
and he didn't see her for till she was 18 months old. Because
Wow.
he 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 was between the African campaign and the Italy campaign, the second
Wow.
phase of it. And on the way, they allowed him to come home, and he
Took care
uh,
of business, you might
yeah, apparently, yeah, yeah.
say.
And we don't know about all the ones he left over in Italy and
Yeah,
Ireland, and
well, that's kind of, you remember Nay that used to do all
right,
the
right,
neat little stuff for us. Well, I guess his dad was the same way. He's finding out he's got cousins and half
yeah,
brothers and sisters.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, so,
Movies on TV.
how did we get onto that?
I don't know.
Anyway,
It's me.
that is weird. That's when it's just you and me. We always kind of diverge into
Yeah, yeah.
different stuff. But yeah, so that's what's happening. What else? Oh, San Francisco, they've decided, you know what, on one of our buildings, let's paint a mural of Greta Thunberg. Yeah. That 16-year-old snot nose from Norway.
Oh, that little.
Yeah. How dare you? Have you seen her photos? She
Yeah,
kind of
I
looks
have.
like
She's
the Grinch. When
yeah. He, Mike, their San Francisco is painting a mural of that girl who spoke at the UN and has said we've all stolen her childhood from her. No, young lady, your parents did by indoctrinating you to become their
mm,
mouthpiece.
hmm.
She is
Yeah,
being used exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
she is. And the sad thing is, well, I've heard people say that she has a mental illness. No, she doesn't. What she has is Asperger's, which is a type of
a
autism.
type of
She
autism. Yes,
is being manipulated.
she is being manipulated. That's sad. I mean, that's like as I mentioned, my grandson, he's spectrum autism,
Mhm,
and he he came up with this on his own,
mhm.
about being a Trump supporter. This was his thinking, and we often don't know what he's thinking, but that's one thing that his parents have never done is try to influence him,
Right,
and
that's good,
uh,
that's good.
but they've tried to encourage him to do whatever it is he wants to do, within reason. And
Well, and my folks were the same way. They didn't, they didn't coddle me. The joke of my family is my sister was raised on Dr. Spock, and I was raised on Mr. Spock.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, and when I came along, they said they threw that book away, that Dr. Spock book, and decided, you know what, we're doing it different with this guy here. And if I
Probably take
fell
his
down
call.
or got hurt, they say, well, what do you want us to do about it? Did you break a bone? Oh, okay. Oh, is that Greg? Oh, God. Hey, Greg, we're talking about your favorite subject today. The other, yeah, there you go. Hey there, look at. Yes, you're right, Mitch. Yep. Hmm. And whenever there's a political agenda going, the kids in the high school they'll decide, hey, we're going to protest it, so they all leave school. When I went to high school, and if you left the school grounds without permission, you got either expelled or suspended, or you went to detention, or you had to come in and sit in the library for an hour and do your homework and all that stuff. Yeah. So things have changed. How high school kids are being manipulated to be mouthpieces of the Democrat Party or the liberals, you know.
Hey guys, just remember to wish Greg a happy birthday tomorrow, Oz by Drone, because he will be the big 5-0.
Woohoo! Yeah. Yeah, awesome, Greg.
And he's not going to be in Hawaii when he does it, unfortunately. Anyways, I'll be back in a minute, Art.
All right, that's okay. So and that's what's going on, how this country it just yeah, you're right, Mitch. Emotion sells more than facts or logic. That's right. And it's all about drumming up emotions, and that's how fascism got started. And communism is you got an orator that knows how to inflame the emotions and the passions of the people and say, hey, we need to do this, do that, and all that stuff. Vote for us, and we'll give you more free stuff, or we promise we'll make the air cleaner and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And
Also, what I want to talk about, I just popped in my head is remember in 18 how after there was a school shooting, I think it was the one in Florida, how the Democrats we're going to do something about guns. Guess what? They're not doing anything about guns. What are they doing? They're trying to impeach a president just because they don't agree with his agenda or they don't like the way he operates things or his tweeting, his they don't like his personality. Ah, and that's
They're
what's going.
they're just mad because his tweets were better than Obama's.
Yeah.
Obama's were boring. You may not like Trump or his tweets, but you got to admit they do stir things up.
Oh yeah.
Obama was
Oh,
just like
that's
little
another
snooze
thing
fest.
that Adam Schiff is. Well, he's intimidating a witness with his tweets. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. How can you intimidate someone who is on the stand, who doesn't have access to a phone while they're giving their testimony? How can you say that's intimidating a witness?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like Mitch says, they're afraid that they'll all be fired or exposed. Exposed and fired. Yeah, and that's really the problem of it. This is why they're doing this,
Mhm,
and you know, I I blame I blame every one of those congressmen on the right that was a never Trumper, that didn't support the leader of their party, that didn't support their president, you
mhm,
know, and instead had sour grapes because you didn't win the nomination,
mhm.
or like Mr. Romney,
Yeah.
who's a rhino anyways, who just didn't win. Period. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Now,
could probably I could probably beat Mitt Romney, and my campaign is just as a joke.
yeah.
Well, his was too.
And now he's the senator from Utah. He took over Orrin Hatch's seat.
Well, Orrin Hatch wasn't all that in a box of crackers either.
Yeah,
He
that's true.
was. I mean,
He,
I remember Orrin Hatch during the Clarence Thomas hearings, and I'm sitting there. I watched that, and I'm like, which side is he on?
yeah.
I honestly thought he was a Democrat for the longest time, and then it's like, oh wait, he's a Republican.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
You're right,
That's
Mitch. You're
yeah.
right.
Those Republicans also are afraid of being exposed for being crooks. Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are big crooks.
Yeah.
Now, who was it? Oh, one of our drone buddies who's not a Trump supporter. It brought up this meme about there's an Ohio congressman. I'm trying to think. They're trying to link him to the sex scandal at one of the colleges there. I'm trying to think of who that is.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. It's like, you know, here's the problem with them trying to the reason they're trying to do this to Republicans, because they already know most of the Democrats are involved. The difference between these sex scandals they're trying to hook these Republicans up to and the ones that the Democrats are accused of is the Democrats are usually guilty. The
Yeah,
Republicans,
they've
it's a
actually
little
done it.
bit, 90% of the time it turns out not to be true. And there's some Republicans. I'm not saying they're, uh,
Yeah, they're not all
yeah,
pure as the wind-driven snow. Yeah.
no, no, you know, but
Well, we
you
had that
know,
one. What was it? I think he was a senator from Alaska, where he got in trouble with the bathroom in the airport there, and he resigned
yeah, yeah, yeah,
after
yeah.
that.
I can't.
Yeah,
That's been a well. That's quite a while back. I remember.
yeah. That was just prior to the Obama administration.
Yeah,
I think it was towards the end of the Bush administration,
right,
and
right.
uh, because Sarah Palin was the governor at the time.
Okay. Was that
And
the one? Was he
I think
sticking
his
his
name
phone
was Steve.
underneath it, or was he s- sending a message across with toilet paper and trying to?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh,
Where he
come on!
had his foot,
On a
kind
piece
of
of
under
toilet
the.
paper. Yeah, on
Yeah,
a
he
piece of
wanted to
toilet
play
paper.
footsie or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh boy.
Well, did they ever prove that that was the case, or was it just another
I think
meme?
they just ran with it, and the guy just
Said it wasn't worth it. Yeah.
yeah, I decided, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. There's a lot easier ways for those guys to pick up each other if that's what they are, if that's what they
Mhm.
choose, than putting a piece of toilet paper on your shoe. I mean, there's times I walk out of some of those public restrooms with it stuck to my feet. Doesn't mean
Yeah,
I'm propositioning anybody. I mean
yeah,
somebody was sloppy.
yeah. Ugh,
Oh my God. It's just politics today. I mean, let's bring back uh, uh, good old fashioned politics where you could bribe a politician and you knew it was going to work because your money was worth something back then. Now you
yeah,
bribe a politician and all you're going to do is get found out in the news.
yeah, mm,
Let's bring back the old days where we could bribe a politician and actually get something done. You know, say what you want. Sometimes that old time politics really worked well for our country.
yeah.
Whether they were bribed or not, it worked.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm. And what happened to Sarah Palin, I thought was so unfair.
oh
They
yeah,
were merciless on
yeah.
her. They even attacked her
Her daughter,
yeah, her
um,
daughter who
the one that
who
was
had that developmental
she was
disabled.
developmentally disordered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
went after him, and
Well,
uh,
look, they went after Barron Trump the first just because.
yep,
I mean, what happened to the days? I
where
mean,
kids were off
yeah.
limits.
I mean, because
Yep,
you look at Jimmy Carter's daughter.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
my God,
nobody
that was
talked about her, and she was like, "Ugh."
she was yeah. She looked like the back end of a dog. I can say
Yeah,
that now. She's no longer protected.
we call it the
She was
south end of the dog facing north.
yeah. She was she was just well. Jimmy was nobody.
Yeah,
Well,
and even
or
Chelsea was.
yeah.
Mm,
Chelsea is like
but she kind of grew into it, and she kind of looked cute. But now she's starting to age
yeah.
not very well either.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we can pick on those kids.
Yeah, now we. Uh-huh. So,
Well,
and,
good
and,
luck with the editing, Mitch. He says he's getting back to his editing now because
oh, okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, Mitch. Always great having you here. Uh, yeah. So,
normally these shows, Mitch, are a little. Well, you watch it every so often. I know you've dropped in. These shows are a little bit more set in stone, but you didn't have a guest today, so
yeah.
you know
Hmm.
I've been you kind of took the reins off me today, so let me run free.
So at least today I'm talking a little more than usual.
Yeah, yeah. I'm letting you have a word in edgewise. I'm learning. I'm
That's
trying.
right. Oh, Rodney Bell, welcome, welcome.
Well, hello,
Uh,
Mr.
Towards
Bell.
the last few minutes of the show, so
Yeah, I did tweet it out and I did put it on Facebook. So,
that's good.
you know, for those showing up late, you can always watch it in the replay.
Yeah, that's right. That's yeah, and to me, it just seems like the political it landscape has gotten meaner and meaner. Yeah, it was pretty bad in the '60s, but nobody was going after people personally. Now that all changed with the when Clarence Thomas was well, actually it happened before Clarence Thomas when Robert Bork was being
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
they called that the politics of personal destruction.
yeah, and
They went after Robert Bork, and he finally just said, "I'm done."
yeah,
He dropped out, and that's when Thomas was next one, and he got the same treatment, and
yeah.
but
And
he was able to get in, and
what was really embarrassing, as far as I was concerned, was the fact that Anita Hill was from Oklahoma. And she's still. I don't know if she's living here now, if she's working back at the University of Oklahoma or not. But you know, the Boren, who was the president of OU up until I think last year, or year
Right.
before he finally retired. His family had been he was a Democrat, he was in liberal politics all this time, and you know, after he was in the Senate, he's been our governor twice,
Right.
and but not two elections in a row. It's like 5 or 6
Yeah, not
years.
consecutive.
Yeah, they were like
Or like
10
Grover
years.
Cleveland, where
Yeah,
Grover
except
Cleveland got beat and then he won after that, 4
yeah.
years later.
Well, Bourne, it was like 12 years between
Oh
his two
boy.
elections. Yeah. And in the
Wow.
meantime, he'd become a senator. And of course, his father had been governor. His father had been a senator, and they were all Democrats. And
Wow.
uh, that was in the early years that I lived here. As far as when I moved here,
Right.
it's like 38, 35 years ago. And well, then he finally retires from the Senate, and because we set term limits in Oklahoma, and he agreed to it, and I think Tom Coburn was running for that spot,
Right.
and he knew he was going to. No, Coburn ran for Congress then,
Mhm.
but anyways, Bourne left, and he took over as the president of University of Oklahoma, or
Uh,
OU, and of course, we know how the colleges are, and that's
uh,
why they wanted him, because he was a liberal. He was a lot more conservative than what we got now, but
yeah.
he was still left of center instead of right of it, you know.
Right.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, so that's I just had a squirrel moment. I forgot where the hell I was going with that.
Well, prior to Trump being elected during the Obama administration, uh, the Democrats pretty much ran the state of Michigan. And towards the end of the Obama administration, that's when the Republicans finally could, took control of the state. They had the governorship, they had the state assembly, and they were turning things around. Now they've got a Democrat governor and a Democrat assembly, and they're trying to undo everything the Republicans did
Yeah,
that brought prosperity and growth back into Michigan.
yeah, because what they're going to do is turn it right back into a rust belt again that it was
Yep.
20
Hmm.
years ago. And I know where I was going with the thing about Bourne.
Okay.
Anita Hill.
Uh,
I don't know if she's still working, but I think he she was a professor there, and then I think he she left during all the other stuff, but I think he brought her back as another law
okay.
professor. So, and that's where I was going with Bourne, because he was the president, and I think he
Uh,
brought Anita Hill as one of the. She's an adjutant professor or something like that.
well, you remember Pat Schroeder?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, when she retired from Congress back in '94, she is now a professor at Princeton.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think she's finally retired from that position, but she had been there for many, many years, and
Yeah.
she was famous for going after Newt Gingrich, and she's
Right.
the one. Uh, uh, there's that famous photo of her in the bunny suit. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we got Diana DeGette, who's just as kooky as she is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. So.
She actually thought that, well, we'll just make gun manufacturers stop making magazines because once those bullets are gone, they'll just throw them away.
Really?
Yep,
Oh my God.
yep, yep.
Sometimes the depth of people's stupidity still amaze me.
Hmm.
I just,
Yep.
like I said, some days I'm just amazed at the ignorance and the depth of stupidity of people that they can
Yep.
believe this crap, or think that
Hmm.
we'll believe it. That's even
Mhm.
more amazing. I
Yep.
think we're going to believe it.
Mhm.
Oh well, that's
Well,
what makes the world go round.
and just remember, the Department of Education was started in whose administration?
Was it Johnson's?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
He
Okay.
used to
Oh,
be
that's right.
number
He's
one in education in the
yeah,
world. Now we're 17.
yeah. Well, Jimmy Carter. I think he's done the best thing he ever did. Well, the best thing he ever did was losing the election. The second best thing he ever did was Habitat for Humanity. I don't have a problem with that. I think that
Yep.
was a great cause. I think he's done well with that. But that's what he should have stuck to. He
Yeah.
should have never. He should have started that first and just never been president. Because
Yep.
I served under Jimmy Carter, and let me tell you, that was man, that was
Hmm.
crazy back then. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm trying to look at the camera more, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to quit doing this. I've got this bad habit, but some of it has to do with the way my legs are from the MS and
Yeah.
the
That's.
way they do stuff, and I'm sitting there like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, I find myself doing this just to relax. So I've been working on my camera
That's good.
presence.
That's And the other good thing that Carter did, probably the only thing that he did good in his administration, was the peace treaty with Israel and Egypt.
That one I will give him credit for.
Yep.
He, uh, yeah, yeah, exactly, Rodney. He served under him too, and he was so glad. Yeah, because I mean, we almost didn't have a military at one point. I think it was
Yep.
1977. Uh, we didn't have the United States Air Force could not generate one battle ready squadron throughout all of the
Wow.
U.S. Air Force because we didn't have enough parts. I mentioned, I think on
Oh,
your show yesterday about cannibalizing parts off
yep.
of a B-24
Yep.
uh, to put onto an A-10. We couldn't get the parts in. That was part of the reason because our uh, if it hadn't been Jimmy Carter, my home
Yeah.
state guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yep.
anyways, we couldn't get enough parts in to fix the aircraft, and it was just
Oh, and the Navy was depleted too. We had ships that couldn't, they didn't have enough parts to get get enough ships running. So when Ronald Reagan came along, everybody said, well, spending went up during Ronald Reagan. Well, yeah, because things were so bad in the military that we had to pretty much rebuild the military because it had been stripped of all its usefulness.
yeah, it was. Drone Life RC puts up something, and yeah, yes, maybe he did, but he also is the one who got him caught. He's the reason. I assume maybe because if you will remember, they were released 1 minute after Ronald Reagan was sworn in.
Yeah, that's
So
right. Mhm.
they would not, unless if once Reagan won the election, that's when they said we're going to negotiate on this because they knew Reagan would go in and he would take back Iran the way it
Yep.
should have been.
Hmm.
Uh,
That's right.
so Jimmy Carter may have done that, but it was only because they weren't even willing to negotiate until after our election. They wanted to see
Yeah.
who won, when, uh, and I do know a little bit about that because I actually been in Iran prior to the hostage taken, just shortly before that. And Jimmy Carter is the reason those hostages were taken in the first place because he didn't support the duly elected government.
Hmm.
And he said, his idea was is that the Ayatollah was a man of religion and a man of peace, and he wouldn't do anything bad.
Hmm.
So he didn't support the government.
Hmm.
So, but
Yep.
yeah,
That's true.
Uncle Ronnie
And
brought our Navy up to 600 plus ships
yep,
in the Navy.
14% pay raise.
Yeah,
That's good because if he didn't do that, nobody would want to stay in the military. They could
yeah,
get paid better Yeah, Rooney, not Ronnie, not Rooney.
Yeah.
But we know what you were
We knew what you
talking
meant,
about,
Rodney. Yeah.
Ronnie
Yeah.
or Rooney.
Yeah. Jimmy Carter, okay, and it was actually the State Department that did it, but they also knew that they didn't even make an attempt to negotiate with us seriously until after the election,
Mhm.
in which it was a landslide. Ronald Reagan won, and that's when uh, your
Yeah.
fingers get ahead of you. But anyways, that's when the Iranians said, "Okay, now we're willing to negotiate." So
Mhm.
you know,
Oh, and it was Jimmy Carter who said that Americans need to get over this inordinate fear of communism.
yeah,
You know what? I think Democrats need to get over this inordinate fear of conservatism,
or capitalism.
capitalism. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's I don't
Or
know. It's
freedom.
just
How
or
about
freedom.
freedom?
Yeah, freedom. It's inordinate fear of freedom. And yeah, it's the Jimmy Carter. He's also the one who authorized that Charlie Foxtrot of a rescue mission that got
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, uh, and I know exactly where they went into, where they crashed at, because I'd actually been at that base uh,
Hmm.
about a year prior to that,
Hmm.
and it was abandoned. And those, yeah, they part of the problem was is like Rodney said, and like you said, because the military was downgraded so bad, we were losing a lot of our best people,
Yeah.
and they got out because they weren't offering us anything in the military or no reason to stay in. Prior
Hmm.
to that, we got, if you, there was some, I knew one guy, just example, he was
Okay.
he was a weapons guy, weapons tech like myself, and he switched career fields. He was allowed to switch career fields and became an air traffic controller. But then he had some injuries, and he only had, I think he had 8 years or maybe 10 years to go to retirement,
Right.
and he could have retired. But instead, he chose to get out because the sign-on bonus that he got, and then then they suddenly had, because they were asking people to sign on to those, and they gave you a bonus if you picked that career field. Then suddenly that career field was bloated, because they weren't,
Right.
the military wasn't running things properly then.
Right.
And he just, they said, well, we'll let you go back. I think he was like 8 years from retirement.
Right.
And they said, you can go back to your original career field. And he says, okay, as soon as this is listening up, I'm out of here. And he did. He resigned,
Right.
and uh, he even had to give part of that bonus back, but he was willing to, just to get out of the military because it was that bad at that point,
Wow.
you know.
That's
And
terrible.
I knew a guy that wanted out early, and he was a major, and
Right.
he took a RIF, a reduction in force, or what they call a RIF, uh, a RIF uh, demotion, which he transferred uh, from, because he started out as an enlisted. He did Operation Bootstrap, which was a way for enlisted to become officers. He made
Right.
it major, and then he decided at that point that he wasn't going, because they weren't promoting anybody. They just weren't promoting. And
Right.
you have to make colonel or lieutenant colonel by a certain amount of time. He knew, because the way the promotions were closed down under Jimmy Carter, that he
Wow.
wasn't going to make it. So he says, "Okay, I'll become a tech sergeant for the last 3 months I'm in the service, and I'm out of here."
Right.
And
Wow.
because he knew he just wasn't, so but then he transferred over to the reserves, and
Right.
he was a major again. And
Oh.
I heard later that he made it to full colonel in the reserves, but he couldn't do it in the active Air Force because
Right.
Jimmy Carter was trying to get everybody from Vietnam out of there,
Right.
and the Vietnam era. He was trying to push them out. He was trying to reduce the forces, and then he was trying to get it to be taken up by the reserves and have them take up the slack,
Right.
because or the guards,
Right.
and
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a real mess under Jimmy
Yeah,
Carter.
it sure was. And sadly, he's in the hospital again, from what
Yeah,
I
I've
heard,
heard that.
and he's probably not doing too well. So,
Yeah.
uh, he's 92, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, right now he's the oldest living president right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so, uh, yeah, so I don't wish anything bad for the
No,
guy. I
no.
think
I think
he
he's
was one of the worst presidents in my lifetime. But now Obama kind of, I don't know, they're kind of neck and neck for worst president.
I love seeing that one meme or that one sign up there is a picture of Ronald or a picture of Jimmy Carter saying, "I'm not the worst president now." And then they have a
Well,
small picture of Obama.
yeah. Well, Lloyd, hey, we managed to do a little over an hour, and thank you again as well. It's always a great pleasure working with you on this great show. We got a bigger crowd this week,
Yeah.
and so thank you, folks, for coming by. We'll bring you some really good stuff next week. So uh, thanks a lot again. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye
And
bye.
and I'll see the rest of you guys on Mel's tonight.